I thought we were going to clap for it. Clap for me. Okay. Anyway, so we had asked, there was a number of questions raised in a couple of the last 2 series of family meetings, so we wanted to have a chance to have ODSP out. There have been some changes, and there's some confusion around those. And whether or not there's going to be more. So Lee said she'd be more than happy. We have had, due to weather and stuff, people can't attend, so we scurried, and Lee was willing to let us videotape her, and Jonah was willing to videotape. So this is lovely. Thank you, Jonah. Jonah's one of our direct support staff, and does a lot of our videos. So I'm going to just hand it over to Lee. We have until 8 o'clock, and she's going to do a presentation, and you've got the presentation on your chair. We thought we would do it a little more informally, seeing how we couldn't find the projector anywhere. But yeah, and then feel free to ask questions, and you can set up those questions however you want, during, after, in between, whatever.
Yeah. We could do it in the middle of the presentation. Just we'll keep in mind of the time, and if we have to move on, then we can hold questions at the end. But sometimes it's more relevant if you have a question at the time. You can stop me, and we'll try to address it as we go through it. Okay.
Over to Lee.
Thank you. So there is some of the presentation is a little less relevant. There's going to be some statistics, so I might just skip past those. You all have the package, so if you want to read through those details later. I have my cards here as well, so you're always welcome to call me after if you have any questions. All right, so I'll just get started. What we're going to talk about tonight, what are Ontario's social assistance programs? What is ODSP income support? How is ODSP delivered? Who is eligible, the application process, and working while on ODSP. Social assistance programs in Ontario, there are 2. There's Ontario Works, which provides financial and employment assistance to help people move towards paid employment and independence. The next one, ODSP, Ontario Disability Support Program, is the one that we're doing the presentation about. Provides income support, benefits, and employment supports to enable people with disabilities and their families to live as independently as possible in their communities. ODSP income support provides financial assistance to eligible people through a basic needs component and shelter allowance based on family size, makeup, and other factors. The basic needs component helps with the cost of food, clothing, and other necessary personal items and expenses. The shelter allowance helps to pay for shelter costs such as mortgage or rent, and shelter-related costs such as property taxes, utilities, and home insurance premiums. Okay. Income support benefits. So there's a number of different benefits that people receive while they're on ODSP. So there's a chart here on page 5. Prescription drugs, dental care, medical, travel and transportation, vision care, diabetic supplies.
Page 3. It's slide 5, page 3.
Ah, sorry. Slide 5, I'll have to say. Okay. Repairs and batteries for mobility devices, guide, hearing, or service dogs, employment and training startup, hearing aids, special diets, surgical and incontinence supplies. Who receives ODSP? So I'm going to pass by page 6. These are just statistics about the different people who are the demographics and the breakup of mental or physical disabilities. So you'll all have that for future reference if you want to. And we will skip to
Page 5.
Page 5. How about who is eligible? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Slide number 10? Okay.
Page 5.
So is that page? I don't know what page because they're doubled up in your package. I got like one page, so.
Page 5.
Page 5. All right. Who is eligible? To be eligible for ODSP income support, a person must be a resident of Ontario, 18 years of age or older, in financial need, and have assets no greater than the limit set out in the ODSP regulation, which we'll come back to that later, okay? The second part is that they must either be deemed a person with a disability under the ODSP Act or qualify as a member of a prescribed class, which we will also address later on in the presentation. Okay. The application process. So the first step is the determination of financial need. So this is what people will start either by calling in or doing it online, and they will be asked a number of questions by a caseworker or one of the clerks, and they'll be asking about your income, assets, expenses such as shelter costs, your family size, and makeup. And then once we have determined financial need, is needed. Step 2, which is the determination of disability or verification of prescribed class. Okay, so as it says there, you can begin the process online, or you can just call into the ODSP office and you would speak to one of the staff there. Individuals receiving Ontario Works they have already been determined in the right financial class, and so they can get the medical package directly from Ontario Works. And then once there is a medical determination, Ontario Works transfer the file directly to us. Okay. Step 1 for financial eligibility. So after the phone call or the online application, if the preliminary financial assessment has turned up that they are possibly eligible, the next step would be an appointment with a caseworker like myself, and we would sit down and we would go through all of the documents. So this is a lengthy appointment where we go through bank records, we need all the ID, so health cards, birth certificates, everything like that. Assets such as vehicles, RDSPs, RRSPs, so it can take quite a long time. But just to do a thorough check into the financial background. Okay.
Why the RDSP?
That was just an example. So RDSPs are exempt, RRSPs are not. So there's a whole bunch of different things that we would be looking at. And we can also advise people to say, you know, if you're going to get an inheritance, we can say there's different ways that you can, an RDSP is a very good way to put it, you know, so it would be exempt and it wouldn't impact your ODSP. Okay. Financial eligibility continued. So income is deducted dollar for dollar from an individual's monthly income support unless exempted by regulation. So when they're talking about income here, they're talking about EI or CPP. So anything that is not earnings is dollar for dollar. When people are working, there's a different calculation. So they say earnings are treated differently from other income. The first $200 earned each month is fully exempt under the flat rate exemption. Thereafter, each dollar of earnings reduces monthly income support by 50 cents. People are always financially better off working. Does anybody have any questions about that one? Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick question. So say somebody gets like an ODSP, just making up a number.
Okay.
So if they work up to $200, say they earn $200, so how does that adjust on their 800?
It doesn't affect anything.
So the 800 stays the same.
That's right.
They get their 200.
They get their 200 and they get a $100 work-related bonus on top of it.
So they get the 100. And then, so say what happens if they have their 800, they get their extra 100, but now say they make $500.
Okay.
So what's that?
$500, $200 exemption. So you have $300 and then 50% of that. So they keep the 500. But $150 is taken off of their ODSP.
Right. So
and then they get the $100 on top of it. So it's basically $50 just come off.
So say they have an 800. Say normally then they would get $900 for the 800 plus the 100.
Okay.
So they've earned 500.
Yeah.
And what does their ODSP change to then?
So 800 is still because we won't include the $100 work-related benefit. Okay. So their entitlement is 800.
Yeah.
Their ODSP would go down by $50, so they would get $750.
So that changes to $750.
Right. Wait. 800, $500, $300. It goes down by 150, so we would go down from 800 to 650.
Right.
And then they get the $100 work-related benefit, so they would get $750 from ODSP.
So ODSP would be $750, and their earnings on top of that would be the $500. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any more?
Well, what's that $100? I'm not clear on that.
So that is $100. It's a work-related benefit. So it's $100 and it's a work-related benefit.
Okay.
So anybody who is working would get an extra $100 put onto their month-end check.
Over and above, even if, okay, that's fair. Over and above if they earned, what was that, up to 200?
Anything. If they get $50, they get the $100. If they get if they earn $500, they get the $100.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
How would they make almost 300?
If they make
Yeah, almost 300.
so the first $200 is exempt.
Yeah.
So there's $100 that we're looking at, and 50% of that, so $50 would come off of the ODSP, and then you get the $100 bonus.
Took a little bit more than they supposed to. No.
It's hard with our definite numbers.
190.
Oh, sorry. What did I say? 300. The first 200 is exempt, and so we're looking at $100 and 50% of that, so $50 deduction, and then you get the $100 bonus tacked on.
That's good.
Nothing touches that bonus though.
Nothing, if you net more than $1, I think $1 is the threshold, so you have to earn more than $1. It's $100
Yeah.
just flat. Yeah,
Right.
that doesn't change. Okay. Okay, so financial eligibility continued. The ODSP asset limit, so this changed just in September. The asset limit for a single person is now $40,000, and for a couple is $50,000. Okay. The next line with prior. Yes, sure.
What is that? Is there limits on what those assets can be?
Uh,
Or can somebody have like 40,000 in a tax-free savings account? Just
yes.
say.
Yes. So anything.
That's definitely been changed then, is it?
Well, the asset limit was 5,000. It
Yeah.
went from 5,000 to 40,000, so quite a substantial jump. Our DSPs are some assets, primary residence, a vehicle, our DSPs, our ESPs. These are completely exempt, so if you did have them, they would not count in that 40,000. So if you had a $50,000 RDSP and you had a $35,000 RRSP, you still qualify because our DSP is exempt.
You said that just a regular savings isn't? Like a-
Regular savings are not exempt.
But tax-free savings,
But
Tax-free savings are not exempt.
not exempt.
No.
Just what you've
No.
noted, so the
Does-
RDSP.
Our
Okay,
DSP.
so- But if
RESP.
you've never worked outside, I'm just,
Mhm.
the person I'm helping with is reaching 65.
Mhm.
She's never had employment.
Mhm.
And have the ability to put it into an RDSP.
Yeah, I don't think you can after the age of 59. I think RDSPs are very
Now it's 49.
40 now.
49, really. Yeah. So there are age limitations with that as well. If she's turning 65, she's probably close to her old age security and the guaranteed income supplement, which those are deducted dollar for dollar. So most likely, I mean, we can still do the application, but it's a question, they might be getting more from those sources than ODSP, which would mean she was not
But she
financially
was-
eligible.
But she would still be covered, like the,
No, not if she's not financially eligible. So you have, that's why we do the financial assessment first, because you need to qualify financially. And if you don't qualify financially, the other things are not accessible.
They get the old age pension,
Often it stops.
And
Often they
ODSP
terminate,
stops.
ODSP stops.
so all their benefits under that plan stops.
They get drug coverage with old age security. There is a calculation, and we'll address this as well in a little bit.
You're talking OAS though, right?
Yep.
That doesn't start till 67 now.
No, it's back to
No,
65.
Come back down.
It keeps changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 67, I think, is when
Yeah.
2020.
So there is drug coverage with old age security. If somebody has very high medical costs other than that fall under those other categories, so let's say they have a lot of dental or they have vision, there's a calculation that we would do. So if somebody was eligible for $1,000 from ODSP and they're getting $1,100 from old age security, if they could show us that their medical costs were higher than that difference, there is a possibility, but we don't know until we get the numbers, right? We have to do the calculation, but it is possible.
I'm sorry, I'm just not clear on this ODSP asset limit. I just want to be clear on this. So
Sure.
if they have the RDSP,
Yes.
the limit is 40,000, you can have in that? Is that what you're saying?
No. Our DSPs, there's certain assets that are exempt, and RDSP is one of them. So
Okay.
you can have $100,000 in an RDSP, and it doesn't affect your asset limit.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. With prior approval, the asset limit may be increased. This is generally for motor vehicle accidents, when this would be, the prior approval needs to be done by our legal service branches. So it is possible, but this is generally in situations where there's been an accident and there's a $2 million settlement, but it's for pain and suffering, and it all needs to be approved by the legal services branch. So it doesn't happen at the caseworker level. It allows for the purchase of necessary items necessary for the health of a member of the benefit unit or for disability-related items or services. In addition, a number of assets are exempt by regulation and do not count towards an individual's asset level. For example, principal residence, motor vehicle, RDSPs. Okay. Step 2, the disability determination. So under the ODSP Act, a person with a disability is a person who has a substantial physical or mental impairment that is continuous or recurrent and is expected to last 1 year or more. In addition, the physical or mental impairment must directly result in a substantial restriction in the person's ability to work, take care of him or herself, or take part in community life. The impairment, its duration, and the restrictions must also be verified by an approved healthcare professional. If a person's condition is expected to improve, a medical review date is set as per the requirements in the regulations. Unless the applicants are in a prescribed class, they must go through an adjudication process to determine if they qualify for ODSP as a person with a disability.
Life,
Uh,
because that is the direction that the government is like.
mhm.
And where does the caregiver come into this actually as well? Is another question.
Well, they don't really notify us at our level of changes of language. This is a presentation. It's not, it's something that to help us do community presentations. Okay. We are not, first of all, we have nothing to do with the medical assessment, right? Once we do the financial assessment at my level, we give a medical package, and that package, we never get any medical information.
So that's a separate presentation maybe. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you could ask them. It's an adjudication unit in Toronto, and there's one office that covers all of Ontario. Yeah, and we don't even really know how they make their decisions because it's a team of doctors, nurses, and professionals. Because we are not, and so we don't get any information to do with that. I think if there was an issue, the person is your MPP. Like if it's a language that that's your avenue to address the medical side of it, because we have much say in that. Yeah. And what was the second part about caregivers?
Yeah, that would probably fall under the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Prescribed class. So these people do not have to go through the medical adjudication process. People age 65 or older who are not eligible for old age security. People receiving disability benefits under CPP, so CPP disability. People who are eligible for services and supports and funding under Services and Supports to Promote Social Inclusion of Persons with Developmental Disabilities Act. People who are members of certain classes under the former Family Benefits Act. There aren't very many. That's a very old program. Former and current residents of certain provincial institutions and provincially regulated homes. The disability adjudication, we touched on that before, is a centralized unit within the ministry that reviews applicants' medical information and determines whether they meet the definition of disability under the ODSP Act. Local ODSP and Ontario Works offices refer applications to the DAU. The ODSP application, the medical portion, is called the Disability Determination Package and includes the following forms: a health status report, activities of daily living index, self-report form, consent to release of medical information, and instruction sheet. The ministry service standard for determining disability is 90 business days from the date of the completed DP is received.
Okay, can we just go back to this prescribed classes just for a moment, because I don't understand some of this. People age 65 or older who are not eligible for federal old age security, why isn't everybody eligible for old age at 65?
No. So if people have less than 10 years of residency, so people who have moved to Canada, yeah.
I
So
thought we were talking about maybe these or whatever.
no, we're just talking about the rules for eligibility for old age security. Yeah. If you've been in the country for less than 10 years, you would maybe not be able to.
All right.
Okay. Eligible individuals. Okay. So once the medical package has been assessed and we get a decision, the DAU, we get a decision from them deeming a client eligible. The notice goes to the caseworker that did the appointment and did the financial assessment. The ODSP caseworker aims to grant income support benefits within 21 days after the financial need has been verified and the individual has been determined disabled or verified as a member of a prescribed class. At that point, meets with the new individual within 3 months to review program benefits and supports, income and employment, and individual rights and responsibilities. Actually, in the Guelph office, we do this at the financial assessment when we first meet with somebody. We go through all the different things that they are eligible for, so we do that before the medical package is given. Sample rates, so these increased in September. The basic needs portion is now $662 for a single disabled person, and the shelter allowance is $489. So generally, the income support for a single recipient is approximately $1,151. It does vary between different people. If somebody is in subsidized housing, the shelter portion is, if they were paying $150 for rent, we would give them $150 for their rent. Okay.
What about ones living at home?
With parents?
Yes.
Board and lodge amount, I think, is $863. So it's a lump sum, and that is up to the recipient and the parents to figure out a budget if they want to give them money towards housing or not, if they want to save for something, but they have that lump sum of money to decide how they want to handle it.
So 3 versus the 1151, that would be the difference.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That would be the difference in subsidized housing.
Oh,
I'm not clear on that either.
okay.
The allowance, the shelter allowance, if it's a lot less than $489, and that reduces their income.
The shelter portion is you get what you pay out. So if your rent is $150, so you would get $662, absolutely. And then if your rent is $150, you would get $100. The shelter allowance, $489 is the maximum.
Okay.
And so, but we can pay for our house insurance. There's other things. Subsidized housing is good because then there's room for the utilities. The shelter amount is really not very. It's not very good, right? It's very difficult to find housing for $489, but that unfortunately is what they've decided.
You're just the messenger, it's okay.
That's right. I mean, I couldn't put any more on it even if I wanted to with the computer system, right? In addition to basic needs and shelter, a person may be eligible for the special diet allowance, pregnancy, breastfeeding, nutrition allowance, or the remote communities allowance, which wouldn't really relate to us. Additional assistance is also available to low-income families with children through the Ontario Child Benefit and Federal Canada Child Benefit. Okay, ODSP and working. What are ODSP employment supports? ODSP provides employment supports for people who are interested in working. The program can help people become employment ready, find and keep a job, advance their careers, and start their own business. People do not need to be receiving ODSP income support to qualify for employment supports. The note at the bottom is that it is not a requirement for ODSP clients to pursue, but these supports are there for people who would like to do it. Here are some examples of the kinds of services that may be provided. Workshops on looking for work, resume writing and interviewing, referrals to job counseling or short-term job-specific training, information on who is hiring, access to education so individuals can finish high school or improve language skills, access to telephones, faxes, computers, and job banks, help in developing a plan to become self-employed, and volunteer placements or job trials that can help individuals practice their skills and improve confidence. Okay, rules about working. There are no rules prohibiting a person receiving ODSP from working. While a restriction in ability to work is one factor considered as a part of disability determination, the ODSP Act does not say a person must be unable to work to qualify for ODSP. There are many supports to foster employment, primarily through ODSP employment supports. These services are provided by approximately 150 community-based service providers, many of which have expertise in working with people with disabilities and local employers. Okay, myth number 1, individuals are not allowed to work while on ODSP. It's not true. There's lots of supports and lots of incentives to help people to go to work in some capacity.
Sorry, quick question.
Sure.
Is there a maximum that people can earn, though, outside of?
The maximum is based on that calculation. So let's say if somebody is receiving $1,100 from ODSP, they would have to be, we use the net, right, not the gross. So after the deductions, they would have to be netting more than double what they're receiving on ODSP. So they'd have to be netting $2,200 a month. And it is really, a lot of people will start working a few hours and then they can build up, they build up their skills. And if they are then receiving, like making $2,200 a month, then it's great, So.
Thank you.
Yep. Individuals can work and still receive ODSP. Caseworker can connect individuals to services that will help them get ready for and find work and help pay for startup costs like work clothes and childcare. Myth number 2, when individuals work, their ODSP income support goes down, so it's not worth it. So we talked about that calculation and we did a few examples to show that whatever if they are working, they will come out financially better in the end. Their employment income combined with their ODSP and the work-related benefit, they will always be financially better off. Myth number 3, individuals will lose their health benefits if they leave ODSP. This is similar to what we were saying with the old age security. So if people go, they earn so much money. We do see this with these days when people don't get benefits at work. So they might be able to make good money. However, their medical costs are so high that they are put into, they have to choose whether they're going to do, they can't afford to pay for their medical with the earnings they have. So we would use that calculation to show if they have very high prescription costs, then they would be eligible to get the benefits from the program, even if they don't need the financial support. Myth number 4, individuals can't get back on ODSP if their earnings decrease or they lose their job. Individuals who leave ODSP because of high earnings can return to ODSP as long as they qualify financially. Will not have to go through disability adjudication to be reinstated. So this is true. We talked about the adjudication process earlier, and some people, there's people who have been deemed disabled with no medical review, and then there's other situations, some people would be deemed disabled with a 5-year review. So if they did go off and they had been due for a review, we would still put the person back on if they needed the services again. We just have to get them set up for another medical review. Okay, earnings exemptions and allowable expenses. Some disability-related work expenses can also reduce the amount that is deducted from an individual's ODSP. Most child care costs can be expensed and reduce the amount that is deducted from ODSP. Individuals who are in post-secondary school full-time can keep any earnings without affecting ODSP. The first $200 of an individual's monthly after-tax earnings won't affect the amount of ODSP, and every dollar individuals earn above 200 only reduces ODSP by 50 cents. Disability-related costs for every month, this is something that also increased. For every month with earnings up to $1,000 can be claimed for eligible disability-related work expenses such as special equipment or special transportation. These costs are subtracted from earnings when calculating ODSP income support. Child care costs will be deducted from earnings when ODSP income support is calculated. For licensed child care before and after school programs, as part of full day kindergarten, the full cost will be deducted. For unlicensed child care, up to $600 per month can be expensed. Working while in school, earnings of full-time students are not deducted from ODSP. OSAP funds for educational costs, local transportation, and childcare are fully exempt and do not impact ODSP income assistance. Post-secondary students can continue to receive funds for living expenses through ODSP while they are in school. They are not required to access OSAP funds to cover their living expenses. However, if they choose to do so, OSAP funds that exceed actual educational, transportation, and childcare costs are treated as income and are deducted dollar for dollar from ODSP. So the next one is just an example of an earnings calculation. So the take-home pay, the net, so after the deductions, was $600. We take $200 off that, so we're dealing with $400, and 50% of that, $200. And so we're working with deducting $200, but then the extra expenses of disability work-related work expenses, $50. Licensed childcare, $100, and so we would take $50 off of the ODSP. Reporting earnings. So each month, individuals must report their earnings covering the first day of the month to the last day of the month to the ODSP office. Individuals fill out the employment training income report. I brought a couple of them and they're on the table back there, but they look like this. So they come every month. They are working on getting rid of the paper copies. They're trying to go a lot more electronic, so the drug cards have changed to just your OHIP card. They're working on the dental card as well, and they're trying to get away from, because this goes to every single client, and many of them just go right into the garbage, right? So they're working on it.
Why would that go in the garbage? Oh, because they have no income?
Yeah, so there's the income reporting. They would send this to us if they have income or changes, which are on the other side. So housing changes go on there. So a lot of it doesn't use. And often people will just fax us their pay stubs as well. They won't even bother with that as long as we have the income information, the gross, the net, and the deductions. We don't necessarily need this either. So. Yeah.
But we still need the dental card. We still need the dental card, though.
Yes, yes. So there's two sheets that come in the mail. They'll look like this. The dental card has the statement as well, which is really important to hold on to.
Will we still be mailing it all the time, or?
They're working on being able to submit it electronically. So
What if you can't do it online?
Yeah.
What if you don't have the internet?
you can mail it if you want. Yeah,
Okay, I just say that
They have both, I guess.
yeah.
They hold options, no?
You can fax it, you can email it, you can mail it.
Oh, you can
We have
email
a
it?
drop. Yes, so we do have email. You have to set it up with your caseworker.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's secure. You would have to sign a consent. And there are benefits to the email. The only problem is that it gets set up only with that one caseworker. So we've had some issues where somebody's gone on vacation and we can't access it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's pros and cons to everything, right?
So they're not getting rid of the paper completely, though, the paper aspect of it?
No.
Okay,
They'll always
they'll
have.
always be paper, good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these will
that's-
always
That's
be
good.
available.
Yeah, I know, because a lot of the folks don't have internet.
No, that's
I
fine.
still have the internet, I just don't want to do it online, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they will not get rid of that. They're just trying to reduce
Yeah.
the number, the paper waste, but that will always be available as well.
Okay.
Okay. Individuals fill out the income reporting sheet and submit it to the local ODSP by the 7th day of the next month. ODSP will use this information to calculate the amount of ODSP income support at the end of each month. Benefits of working. People with disabilities on ODSP do not have to take part in employment-related activities, but if they do, they will see their income increase, continue to have health benefits, and experience the social benefits of working. So that is something. A lot of people, if they do what they can, there's a lot of benefits outside of the money, just interactions. So we do encourage, any sort of activity. Leaving ODSP for work. ODSP will continue to provide health benefits if an individual is eligible for extended health benefits. So that's the one I was saying that it would be a calculation. You would submit a copy of your prescription costs, dental costs, anything that's really high. We would calculate how it compares to your income, and if your health costs are higher than the dollar difference by which you are ineligible for the program, you could continue to get the benefits. Similarly, transitional health benefits, if somebody is going to be getting benefits from work but they haven't kicked in yet, we would do a transition bridge to when they did kick in. Okay. Individuals whose earnings decrease, who leave or lose their job or leave for any reason, can come back to ODSP without going through the disability adjudication process again. That sometimes, not always. Okay, and that's the end of the presentation. But I do have my cards here, and there's always people available. It's got the phone number for the office, so you can always call with any other questions. Anybody have any questions?
Just the special transportation, what does that?
Medical transportation?
Well, just said for work.
So specialized transportation, if it's related to their disability, if somebody has problems getting to work and they needed like special, the buses that will lower.
Okay, so just as far as if employment isn't within walking distance and you just need to get a cab, then that's not covered?
No,
okay.
No, it have to be disability related, yeah. Anything else?
Any other questions for Lee before we wrap up? Thank you so much. And as Lee said, there's a number of handouts on the table just at the back there if you want to pick those up. And thank you so much. We're going to get